Hello, everyone, and welcome to Blackhawks Banter presented by the Hockey Writers. If you're new, welcome. We discuss all things Blackhawks every week here on YouTube and Facebook. So be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and Facebook so you never miss any episode or any updates on anything. You could also find all of our articles there on thehockeywriters.com. And be sure to also follow all of us on Twitter. Our Twitter usernames are right in our names here by our screens. So be sure to do that. Our crew is the same crew we have every week. We got Greg Boysen, Gail Kauchak, Shaun Filippelli, and I am your host for tonight, Brooke LoFurno. And because we've had kind of a really busy day today with the trade deadline, we have to get right into this. So it was kind of a busy day for the Blackhawks. They made 4 moves, which was actually more than I was expecting them to make. Carl Soderberg went back to the Avalanche. Matthias Janmark went to Vegas. We got a draft pick from Vancouver for Madison Bowie. And we got Adam Guadet from Vancouver in exchange for Matthew Highmore. So I'm going to start by asking, did you like the job that Stan Bowman has done for the day? And give me your thoughts. Shaun, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you can't look at what Bowman did and give him credit and praise for not only having an active trade deadline here, but picking up exactly what this team needs. We've been preaching it all season and even in the preseason that they're going to need picks and prospects, and that's exactly what they went out and did. I mean, we saw some players come back in return, but the reality is the value of what he got today and even leading up to today was the picks and prospects. So, I think he deserves a pat on the back. And interestingly, it was kind of a quiet media day as far as Blackhawks are concerned because they weren't the story because they're not contenders. But the reality is, I mean, he was one of the most active GMs as far as the output goes. And I think he deserves credit for that. And again, he got exactly what this team needs to continue to work towards sustained growth and the progress that they need. So it wasn't to get players and rentals and try to see if they can get back into the playoffs, which whether they do or not, we should look at as a bonus. That's a bonus success, if for nothing else. They need to build for the future, and that's exactly what he did. So kudos to Bowman for doing exactly what this team needed.
Gail, what do you think?
Busy day. It was a busy day. Yes, I would agree with Shaun that I think I'm happy with basically everything. They didn't have he didn't give up any assets for the most part that or any future of the team, and then a lot of adding a lot of things. I'm not real happy with trading Soderberg. I don't know, they didn't really get much for him. So did they have to do that? Did they have to pull the trigger there? And then Madison Bowie leaving, I think that's going to leave DeHaan unprotected for the expansion draft. Although I don't know, maybe they could get rid of Zadorov then too. I'm not sure. I don't really know. But those are the two that I was kind of like, but other than that, yeah, definitely pretty exciting stuff.
Greg?
Yeah, it's hard to be upset really about anything. The players we've been talking about, Janmark, Soderberg, those are guys that even when they first signed, we're like, hey, that's a guy you could trade at the deadline and get something for. This is really the first time, and I'm going to give, I've been a critic of Stan when he's earned it, but I've also given him credit and defended him when he's warranted that as well. And this is kind of the first time that he's really got to focus on big picture long term. For so many years it was trade deadline was let's get that final piece to get us to the Stanley Cup final, or let's try and make a playoff push here. And now it's like he didn't fall for the temptation that the first 2 months of this season gave him. He didn't give up anything for the future. He's stuck to that plan that he said at the beginning of the year. So big time credit. I was not going to lie to you, little worried that, about 3 weeks ago that he might scrap that idea and do something stupid and sacrifice 2 years down the road to just lose 4 games to Tampa Bay in the first round. So kudos for sticking to the plan. I think the return he got for Janmark was tremendous, getting a second and a third round pick for a guy that has 1 point in the last 10 games. Yes, he was a nice fit here, but that's exactly why you signed him, to get some assets for him. Soderberg didn't bring in a whole lot, but he hasn't been fantastic while he was here. So they got another Notre Dame kid, which, of course, that's Stan's thing. He's too early to really tell. He's the son of Brian Rolston, longtime NHL guy, so the pedigree's there. I like the Gaudette for Highmore trade too. I think you got an upgrade there. Gaudette is a very intriguing, interesting guy. I was reading a little bit on him. He might not turn out to be anything, but it's one of those reclamation things. So there's a lot to like. There's some possible potential future pieces. And when you're rebuilding, you got to get as many of these possible might be a guys in your system. So he did a good job.
I love how we're all like in the phase of this Blackhawks team that anytime we get a player, we're like, oh, we could either trade him or expose him. Like we're always like, that's how weird our position is right now, that it's not really all about keeping people. But I agree with everyone. I do like what Stan Bowman did today. The fun part of having Stan as our general manager is either he can go way off the handle or actually be competent. And today he did a very good job. I think you guys have heard me say this a bunch of times that I wanted to be sellers at the deadline. I wanted assets. Anything you could get for anyone, I was all for. And he did that today. Like Greg said, Janmark's deal was amazing. I didn't know what we could get for him, but I did not expect a second round. So, hey, go for it. And I was a little disappointed to see Soderberg go. I knew it was coming. I think we all knew that was coming, but I did like what he could bring. Maybe if we were contending, he would be someone I would still like, but I get the business of it. But yeah, I think he did a good job, and hopefully all the draft picks we got today, he drafts well and develops well, and this will set us up good for the future. So that actually brings me to my next question, which has to do with trades. It's about the first trade that the Blackhawks did on April 8th when we acquired Brett Connolly, defenseman Riley Stillman, and center Henrik Borgstrom in exchange for Lucas Carlson and Lucas Wallmark from the Florida Panthers. So I want to ask about this because obviously Brett Connolly is a veteran. He's been around. He's won a Stanley Cup. So obviously he'll get playing time. And Stillman, he's kind of a wild card since our defense is already a revolving door of prospects and whatever. So it's hard to predict who he's going to play with. And Henrik Borgstrom is playing overseas right now, so we don't have to worry about him yet. But since we all love to play head coach, which player in the lineup would you sit in order to play Brett Connolly specifically? And I'm going to start with Greg.
Well, I know you originally gave us this question before the deadline, but now I don't think we have to sit anybody. He can just slide in with the Janmark position right there. So the trade deadline opened up a couple of spots with Soderberg and Wallmark gone and Highmore. So you don't have to bench anybody at this point. He can kind of fill that role. He's not, he had a nice season a couple seasons ago. He's not going to be a highlight reel all-star type player. He fits that Janmark kind of role, work hard, go to the dirty areas of the ice, contribute, does things that you probably won't see on a score sheet, but are needed to be competitive. And he also fits the mold perfectly for the type of veteran contract you have to have exposed for the expansion draft. So that was, that trade. Borgstrom is the prize piece of that trade. And that's the guy that the Hawks are happy to have. Stillman could be a guy, who knows? We'll see. He's probably going to be a Rockford guy here soon. But yeah, Conley can fit right in and get some bottom 6 minutes, maybe some PK, possibly that second power play line. Basically take over Janmark's spot in the lineup, and we'll go from there. He's got a few games to see what we can get out of him, and then the offseason, will be interesting.
Definitely. Shaun, what do you think? Would you sit him for someone, or like Greg, do you think he can just slide right in?
I mean, to Greg's point, with their depleted roster from everyone that they saw go another way, you'd have to think that you wouldn't really have to sit someone. So I have to agree with everything Greg just said. But for the sake of conversation here, I'll throw in the mix that when I'm looking at this Blackhawks roster, unfortunately, as much as I predicted he'd have a pretty good rebound year, I'm looking at Camp, and his past 12 games hasn't really been doing much. 2 points in 12 games. He was still is, on average, one of the best face-off takers on average for the Blackhawks. But in that 12-game span, he's actually an under 50%. So he's gone downhill, so to speak, and it's not looking like he's doing much to kind of climb back up. So I'm saying take him out and let let the other centermen who are kind of floating around this roster figure out a way to see who's going to slot into each of those lines, because there's a bunch of them anyway. You got Doc, Kurashev, Suter, Strome, who are playing anywhere throughout the lineup at any point anyway. So let them take over, slide Connolly in, see how he fits alongside whatever line he might, and just see where it goes from there.
Gail?
Wait, I'm sorry. Shaun, did you say David Camp? Take David Camp out?
I did.
Who the hell is going to win a face-off? Take him out.
He hasn't been in the last 12 games.
I knew Gail was going to bring
Brinket's going to win us a face-off, guys.
Gail,
He's been
Gail
doing
has
it ever
been
since.
Gail,
Nobody
you
is
got
ever
Doc
going to win
back.
a face-off again.
But we got Doc back, right? He's got to get that time. And, like I said, Camp's not been doing it lately. He did it at the beginning, but he's not doing it lately.
Okay, Gail, for those of you who don't follow us on Twitter, Gail has been our face-off watch hawk the last couple of weeks. So I knew when you said Camp, I was like, uh-oh, Gail can't wait for her turn. Go ahead,
Recency
Gail,
bias.
please.
Well, I forgot what you had said about, there's Soderberg and no Janmark or Soderberg. So you're right. We don't really probably have to take anybody out. But my pick for this was actually going to be Ryan Carpenter, just because he's 30 years old. He's not part of the youth movement. So you're not really doing much by taking him out. Don't get me wrong. I really like Carpenter. I think he's a great complementary piece, but that seemed to make the most sense to take him out. Plus he hasn't been playing all that great lately. He's going to have to pick it up as one of the veterans now, as we go forward here. But that was my pick then. But again, they probably don't take him out. Question is, who's going to come in?
Yeah, I agree. The thing is, I don't know, our team is kind of weird because we can say, oh, Connolly can slide right in and that's fine, but who knows what Colleton's going to do? He could call up people from the taxi squad and then he'll still sit out. I don't know. Just our luck that would happen, right? But I originally picked Camp as well. He was the first one that came to my mind only because I get about the face-offs. I'm sorry, Gail. I do understand about that, but he has no goals and I was like, I don't really know I don't think it would really have a bad effect on the team if he were to sit one game, but besides the sitting thing, I am really interested in general to see where he will slide in because he's an interesting kind of player. I guess he can put him on any line, whatever, because it's kind of a free-for-all at this point. Everyone's playing on any line at any given night, but it will be interesting for sure. I'm kind of looking forward to it. So actually, while we were just having that discussion, I was kind of thinking about, I actually really want to ask you guys about this now. When we think about trades, we think about kind of, especially right now, since we're kind of rebuilding, we're kind of thinking about moves in a way that help Kane, someone that can complement Kane while Taze is out, while we're missing a bunch of people. So I guess my question to you guys is, do you guys think the moves today help Kane right now? Would you say Connolly helps Kane or Guadet? What do you think? Gail, I'm going to start with you.
Do I think that Connolly helps Kane?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's tough to say. I'll be the first person to say I'm not real sure I like this line of Hagel, Suter, and Kane. They haven't really been doing much lately. I don't think that Connolly will be part of anything with Kane. He'll probably be on the third or fourth line. So I guess my question would be probably no. I don't think he's going to help out.
Greg, what do you think? Do you think the moves today helped Kane in any way?
Not particularly. I mean, Connolly's a right winger for the most part as well. So, if you're going to play him with Kane, he's going to play out of position. And Gaudet, I think more of a line, the guys that, Gaudet would benefit more from playing with Kane than vice versa. But it's still unknown if and when he's going to actually play this year. I mean, he's coming from Vancouver, which is COVID central right now. And if it'll reportedly, he was patient zero and the guy that kind of caused all that. So who knows if we're even going to see him this year. I did some reading on him before this, and it's a strange story. They always wanted to put some weight on him in Vancouver, but he couldn't put on weight, and they found it was due to some weird stomach condition that was only diagnosed earlier, like within the past year. It's just, I don't know. So as far as did anything done today help Kane? No, But did anything done today really hurt him either? Probably not, because he wasn't really working off those guys that were traded away anyway. So I think it's status quo. Patrick Kane knows how to be Patrick Kane regardless who's playing next to him. So just get out of his way and let him do his thing.
Sean, what do you think?
I think the moves, as far as it goes for how it relates to Kane, is neutral at best. I don't think any of these moves, like Gail and Greg both said, these aren't players that are coming in are going to probably see a lot of time with Kane, and those who left, saw sporadic time anyway. So Kane is sort of right where Kane always was, and he's going to continue to be looked at to put the most points on the board and continue to perform and continue to excite. That didn't change. It wasn't that bar didn't raise any further or lower anymore after this deadline. The one thing I'll say is perhaps the Hinostroza move earlier in the week might affect Kane in a way of just familiarity. So, he's got another familiar, friendly face in the locker room. That might help him. But I would say that would be the extent of it.
Yeah, I agree with all of you. It's not like we traded for Taylor Hall or someone like really big that would like really kind of feed off of him. But it is like that tough case, because I think this was mentioned before, as some Blackhawks writer had mentioned it, about how the team kind of takes advantage of Kane in a lot of ways because he can produce no matter who he's playing with. And sometimes it's like you wish you had that main staple, that could complement him. And with Taze out, you kind of see where it gets really off balance. But yeah, I agree. It may be down the future, like with these draft picks and stuff, then he will have help. But right now, it really kind of means nothing because, like you said, we don't know when these players are going to come in, if they're going to play this year. And it's kind of a bunch of nothing. So I guess it's a wait and see thing. So we're halfway through the show, so I'm going to make my comments about, if you're just tuning in now, welcome. This is Blackhawks Banter presented by the Hockey Writers. You can find all of our content on thehockeywriters.com, all of our articles. Make sure you like and follow us on YouTube and Facebook so you never miss an episode, and make sure to follow all of us on Twitter. Our usernames are right here by our names on the screen. So now I'm going to get into our fourth topic of today, which is goaltending. It's kind of come back down to earth, like we talked kind of about last week. Greg had mentioned that, and Kevin Lankinen kind of lost a little bit of his hot streak. Subban has struggled in his last few starts, and Collin Delia, who's our third string goalie, was sent down to Rockford for a conditioning assignment, but now is back on the taxi squad. Thank you, Sean, for pointing that out to me. So I guess my question is, we're kind of fumbling around with goaltending, and even though the regular season is almost coming to an end and we're kind of fighting for a playoff spot, would you give Collin Delia another shot since he hasn't played since the beginning of the season? And Sean, I'm going to start with you since you're the goaltending person.
I was going to say, thanks for asking the only goalie on the panel the goalie question first. I've been saying it for a couple weeks now too. Honestly, I don't see why there's any downside to getting Delia more ice time with this team. But like you said, he went down to Rockford for a conditioning stint. It was rough right off the bat, but then his numbers improved, his play improved, so he got called back up to the taxi squad. Little movement from there. He hasn't gotten back to a game. You touched on it already. Lankinen and Subban's numbers have come back down to earth, so to speak. Lankinen's still performing, though. I mean, he's still doing a good job where he can, but I'm going to twist this a little bit and say that what they're doing now with Lankinen is not a good thing. They're going to burn this kid out. Playing him too much is not a good strategy. And obviously, he's doing well. He's the clear number one for this team moving forward. But if they want to help him set him up for success as their number one moving forward, then they need to make sure that they're setting him up for the best opportunities in the present, or else this could go downhill quick. So give the kid a rest, get Delia in the net, see what he can do. He's not going to threaten anyone's position. We know Lankinen's the guy, but you might as well give Delia a chance to progress and develop, because that's what this year was all about anyway. So 100% for sure, get him back in and get him some ice time with this team.
I am with you there. I think I was thinking from the beginning about how everyone on this team, all the goalies, Lankinen, Subban, and Delia, both started off letting up 5 goals or more. And the only goalie that didn't get a chance to redeem himself was Delia. So I don't think he got a really kind of a fair shot. He was kind of written off right away. And I understand that we needed to see what we had in Lankinen and Subban, but I was with the fact that I wished to see him again. And, I feel like you said, it's a development year, and, we need to see what we have in people. And this week especially is kind of our easier week, with Detroit coming up and stuff. And I wouldn't mind seeing him in one of those games, because Detroit's kind of, we've done good against them this year. So I wouldn't mind doing that. But yeah, I do want to see him before the season ends for sure, especially if maybe we're out of the playoff picture by the time it comes out, then yeah, I definitely want to see him. What do you think, Greg?
Yeah, sure. Throw him out there for a game or two. If one thing, it's one less thing people can bitch about on Twitter, because there's a small faction of Blackhawk fans that think there's a conspiracy theory that we've got freaking Marty Brodeur sitting there on the taxi squad, but Jeremy Colleton hates him, so we're not going to play him. Face it, folks. If he was better than Subban or Lankinen, he'd be playing, but I don't think he is. But that being said, sure, it's been a tough season for him. There's been 31 goalies across the league that have been in this same boat because of this weird, wacky season and the taxi squad. It's taking away playing time from a lot of goalies and a lot of players that otherwise would be playing and developing in the AHL. It's tough. It sucks. When he was down in Rockford, we got to speak to him after one of his starts, and he, he's always been super candid after games, and he pretty much, you could tell he wasn't happy with the situation. He was the one that actually had his agent suggest that he go and play the games in Rockford. And he was only down there for a couple of weeks. I think you only get 14 days for a conditioning stint by rule. And as Shaun said, the first couple of games were not good, but then as he got into it, he performed a little better. So if he does play, whatever that first game is, don't bet the over on whatever phone app you have to do legal sports betting here in Illinois now. Bet the over in that game, but sure, let him play. I think today proved that the Blackhawks I don't want to say they don't care about making the playoffs, but they're not committed to it. So maybe they revert to what we thought we were going to see in the beginning of the season and kind of give 3-man guys in and, give Lankinen some extra time off. See what you got in Delia. And even if you know what you got in Delia, reward the kid for being a trooper this year and putting up with this taxi squad crap, and give him a couple games, and then we can all stop the conspiracy theories.
Okay.
At least about him. I'm sure they'll think of something else, but we can stop about Delia.
Gail, what do you think?
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. I mean, I initially was going to say if you see Delia in there, then that means that your playoff hopes are over. But now I kind of feel like that's kind of where we're headed anyway, based upon these trades and looking to the future, which is all good. And then I'm just going to throw in the quote that Colleton gave when they were talking about Delia. Let me see here. He said, obviously you check in and whatnot, but there's nothing really changing. So there's not much to talk about. Jimmy Wade, technically, he's got to keep working, use the reps he gets and practice time he does get to get himself as ready as he can based on the circumstances. I understand they are tough circumstances, but that's the league this year and that's his situation. So, based on that quote, maybe it's changed now. Maybe we'll see him in there, but I don't think it's going to happen. And hopefully he'll have a chance to prove himself, but it probably won't be this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think the other tough thing, is that he hasn't played a whole lot this year. So it's not like we could have used him as a trade chip to get him a fresh start somewhere else either. So he's kind of stuck in really in no man's land here. And that kind of sucks for him a lot. But you know what? It's already been a really entertaining year. There's a lot of stuff that's been happening with this team. And so I feel like getting Collin Delia in there would just be like another entertaining thing. Like, just entertain us. I think that's all we want at the end of the day. We kind of know what our playoff fate is. Let's just be entertained by whatever comes our way. So that's how I look at it. But yeah, definitely hope he can get a shot somewhere down the line, even if it's something little, but we'll see. So guys, we are now on the topic that everyone has been waiting for. It's going to be the debate of the century. I can't wait for this. So we have to talk about Nikita Zadorov. Greg, I'm really sorry that he was not traded today. I know his name was out there in the trade rumors, but he ended up not being traded. But he's had a rough go of it lately, if we can say that lightly, but he's taken 7 penalties in the last 10 games. He ranks 7th in the league with 11 minor penalties taken in 5-on-5 play. And he's ranked 13th in the league with 13 overall minors. And he's had brutal turnovers lately. I think we saw that one on Dallas on April 8th that resulted in the Stars scoring on the 4-on-4. So I guess my question to you guys is, do you think the coaching staff should consider making him a healthy scratch to allow him to reset? And our first debater of the day goes to Greg for this one. Yeah, listen up, everyone. It's going to be good.
It's a lot of pressure, but all right. Yes, I do think he should sit for some time, but that doesn't seem to be a thing in Jeremy Colleton's bag of tricks. There doesn't seem to be a lot of accountability when it comes to these sort of things. Even within games, Zadorov makes a dumb penalty, and he's right back out there for his next shift. Like, at least bench the guy for the remainder of the period to tell him, hey, that's not okay. Pull your head out of your rear and play hockey. We saw it the other day with Ryan Carpenter too, and I'm a big fan of Ryan Carpenter, but he had 2 terrible penalties that got scored on both penalties, and he don't miss a shift. You got to put some sort of accountability out there. Now, when I woke up this morning and I saw Zadorov's name getting mentioned by guys like Elliot Friedman, I was like, hey, this could be something. But that didn't happen. No trade. Apparently there was some interest, but the Hawks didn't get the offers they wanted to. And then that made me worried that, oh man, they're going to bring him back, but he's a restricted free agent. So they could still trade him this offseason. So that tells me Bowman at least has a value attached to him. And if you're not going to get what you want for a guy at the trade deadline, you can still make a move in the offseason when you have more time to discuss bigger deals. I'm okay with that. But as far as now, yes, if maybe they didn't want to bench him because they were trying to showcase him off for the trade deadline. And now that the trade deadline is come and gone, you can have him eat all the popcorn he wants in the press box and watch Nicholas Bodine, who's a better defenseman, go out and play as opposed to sitting on the taxi squad. When this team is good again and hopefully contending for a Stanley Cup, Nikita Zadorov is not going to be part of that defensive core. So enough already. Let him go headhunt and leave the crease unmanned somewhere else.
He probably will, though. The players that we say shouldn't be here are usually here. So watch. Just our stand for him, and next stand for us, Never know.
I'm out of blood pressure medication, so please don't make it shoot through the roof here.
Well, it's going to shoot through the roof here with Gail in her rebuttal here. So, Gail, give us your thoughts on Zadorov.
All right, devil's advocate, you guys. Here's the thing. Zadorov plays a role with this team, and that is a physical, hard-hitting defenseman, all right? Nobody else on this team really has that. Nobody else is physical. I remember that recent game in Tampa Bay when the Tampa Bay Lightning were taking liberties with Blackhawks, and Colleton said, nobody should retaliate, and everybody was all upset. That's what's going to happen if you don't have players that are like Zadorov, if you don't have these kind of players out there, okay? So if he's not running around hitting people, and if he's not, saying, don't touch my goaltender, or, getting in somebody's face when they push Patrick Kane around, then you're all going to say that this team is too soft. So everybody's complaining about something, right? You can't have your cake and eat it too. Zadorov plays a certain role. And to be honest with you, him and Murphy have actually had pretty good numbers lately. That being said, I do understand where you're coming from. I understand that he's made mistakes, and that maybe he should sit for a game or two to try to figure it out, to say, okay, how can I have that physical edge without making boneheaded mistakes? But it comes with the territory. Not everybody can be a perfect defenseman. Obviously nobody's a perfect defenseman, but a physical defenseman and a really, really good defenseman all at the same time, So you have to kind of pick your poison with Zadorov. And so that's my defense of him, even though I wouldn't argue with him sitting for a couple games either.
Shaun, what do you think? Would you want the coaching staff to give him a bench for a game or two?
Yeah, about a month and a half ago. I will respond directly to Gail, though, on this one, because I appreciate that she wants to play devil's advocate. Bringing in a physical presence, we know that's why he came in. Clearly, we all know that. We all hope that was going to happen, and it's happening, and we see that, and that's a plus in its own right. But the reality is, if there's that physical presence and physicality, if it's not leading to any good, then what's the point? So it is great to protect the players, and I agree, and that I agree, especially protecting our goalies. We should absolutely be doing that. But the reality is, the upside there is just non-existent. So he's throwing his body around. He's getting penalties. He's doing what we expected, but in my opinion, he's doing less of what we expected because he's not actually producing. He's not actually playing good defense when we need him to. He's been slow, sluggish. At the best of times, he looks lost out there. He's obviously improved from a very slow start, but that doesn't say much because it was really rough at the beginning. He's just, to me, has never found a fit. He just doesn't look right out there. I'm a fan of his personality. He makes me chuckle every now and then when I see his quotes and see videos, but that's just not good enough to find a fit in a lineup that's supposed to be developing and progressing. And with all of that said, with all of these other moves today, if they're any indication of what this team should be doing, get him out, get a kid in. Simple.
Yeah, I'll advocate for you that you did say that even when the trade happened initially, you were like, I don't think this guy's going to be a fit. And that was even when he was never even played a game for us. You were just like, I don't like this. And we were like, oh, hey, give him a chance. You never know. But I actually do agree with all of your points. I know that he does bring a presence that is needed, but the problem is, like you guys said, he's not like Brad Marchand. I know he's not a defenseman, but he plays that kind of pesky, aggressive role, but he has the stats to back it up too. So he can go both ways, but it's not like we have that on our hands. And that's what makes it hard. But it also, sometimes I do wish he had like the Tortorella approach, Colliton, because I do think people should be accountable for their mistakes in hockey games. But the other issue with that is Zadorov was traded for Brandon Saad. I feel like benching him would probably be into, like, Stan would not, I don't think, want to eat his crow that he made a mistake for the third time on a trade. So it kind of goes both ways. I don't think we'll ever see him be healthy scratched, even though I am all for that. I'm all for seeing Bodine and Mitchell back. And I think it would be good for Zadorov too. We see how sometimes benching players can give them, a mental break and help them reset. So I'm all for it. But like I said, there's a lot of weird things involved there. We probably won't see it, but I think we all agree that he could be healthy scratch for a game or two, and it wouldn't bother us one bit, I don't think.
Well, and then the new defenseman, Stillman, I don't recall his first name, but Stillman is supposed to have a very similar physical style of play. So I would assume that if they want to get him in there, that might be a good swap.
I was just gonna mention that yes, Riley Stillman does play. He's a bigger defenseman that plays with a bit of an edge. So, your point about the physicality and the sticking up for your teammates is very valid. So if you want to give him a break and still get that kind of guy that can do that, then maybe this is your perfect opportunity to see what you got. And Stillman, who has a little bit of NHL experience. So we'll see what happens. But, if it wasn't for Zadorov, we'd have nothing to argue about. Well, we still would, but we'd have nothing to argue about every week.
So he serves his purpose,
I guess so. I mean, without him, we'd have no ratings. So thank you, Nikita.
I think we're all about experimentation this year, just let's see what everyone can do. Sit everyone that doesn't need to play, and let's see what everyone else can do. But yes, you're right. If we didn't have Zadorov, I don't know who else we'd argue about, but he's the main one. So
we'd find somebody.
Yeah, we would find someone. I don't disagree with you guys there. Poor Zadorov. We're all sitting here arguing about his fate, and he's probably like,
he's gonna have like a really awesome game tonight. You watch. Yeah. He'll score a second goal.
Yeah, he will. Oh my gosh, yeah, and we'll be like, oh, yay. Maybe that's what he needs, a little kick in the butt from us to start performing again.
If he's watching our show before every game, then that's a whole nother problem.
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh boy.
That's true.
We're pretty cool though, so that makes him cool then if he does watch. So we're gonna wrap up this show talking about last week and the week ahead. This past week we obviously have wins, so that's a lot kinder than what happened last week. We had a win on Dallas on Tuesday and Columbus on Saturday. So are there things that have stood out to you this past week that you hope will or will not carry into the week ahead against Columbus tonight and Detroit on Thursday and Saturday? Gail, I'm going to start with you.
All right. Well, things have kind of changed since I put together kind of what I was thinking about saying here since the playoff. But again, I was going to say that the Cat Doc Strome line I've been really happy with. They seem to be pretty hot. But then you're taking away from Hagel, Suter, Kane. I think that there probably needs to be some adjustments there. I was going to say that Kampf and Soderberg shouldn't play on the same line so that they can at least both be taking faceoffs, but that's not happening anymore. So I guess that would be my main thing is who the heck is going to take faceoffs and how the hell are they going to win and get possession anymore? It could be rough, you guys. It could be rough. Or maybe because, we all kind of knew that this was going to happen and the team wasn't really relying on these people that have left, that everything's going to be okay. So the important thing is that if these guys are going to do anything, if they're going to make any kind of push for the playoffs, this is it right now. I mean, they've got the Columbus Blue Jackets team that's really down and out. They've had a lot of losses lately. And then, you've got Detroit. These 3 games you must win them. And then, and maybe build some momentum as you head into that crucial 3 games against the Nashville Predators. So it's go time.
Shaun?
I spoke about keeping things simple last week, and that's exactly what they did as far as their shot totals. That this is a team that was struggling to get shots on net, and they outshot their opponents all 3 games last week. So that was nice to see. It was fun to watch that they were doing whatever it took to get some pucks on net. Obviously, it translated into good things for this team, and it shows that that's the first step in terms of good things happening in this game. It's pretty simple. Get pucks on net, you're going to score more goals. So it was nice to see them outshoot in all 3 games, even though they didn't win all 3 games. But again, that's the prerequisite to making good things happen. And if they can continue that and keep that up, then it shows us that at least they're still out there battling, they're still out there working, and that's what we want to keep seeing. So even if these pucks are not going in net or they're not going where they want them to go, getting them off, shooting them means that there's opportunities to learn and to progress and to at least expand on that experience. So keep shooting.
Greg?
This is going to be an interesting week, to say the least, because these are the teams that the Blackhawks have had the most success against this season. And then we have 3 teams that have been active today at the trade deadline. So they're all going to be kind of filling in pieces and playing around with new guys and seeing who's who. And I think it was Gail last week who said that we should stop worrying about the playoff push, and that's good advice. I think just listen, if they make a run and they make it, okay, but that's not the important part for these last few weeks here. I think we need to work and be looking for progression from individual young players. We need to look for these guys to start building good habits going forward. This Doc DeBrincat Strome line could be fun, could be something to work on. We'll see how long that sticks together. As Gail mentioned, Kane with Hagel and Suter. I don't know. I like Brendan Hagel, but God, that kid cannot finish to save his life. It's like American Victor Stahlberg, but like 6 inches shorter and not as good of a dresser. So just build on good habits, play, compete, let the chips fall where they may. You win, you lose. I don't think we need to really be focusing on wins and losses at this point. I think we just need to look at individuals and identify guys who are going to be useful players going forward in this rebuild. That should be the goal this week and the rest of the regular season. And hey, if we wind up with that 4th spot, great. 4 more games, maybe 5, and then we get back to work in the off season.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really see it as a playoff push, to be honest. Like you said, I think we're just looking for improvements, just like see if we can improve towards the end of this. And I think that's what was supposed to happen from the start. We just want to see growth. And this past week, when I was watching the Columbus game, holy heck, one, they're bad, but it's not their fault. They are missing a lot of people. But oh my gosh, I was like, if we can't beat these guys, then we got issues. And I felt like we almost tried to give that game away, but thankfully Lankinen was on his game and we had a couple people make some good saves. Like DeBrincat had a good defensive stop there. So I was like, can we stop trying to give up games? That's like getting real old now. Like, can we just pull it together for a full 60? So I think that stuff kind of still really irks me. And I hope that we don't have a repeat of that tonight. I hope we can play a full 60. And like, I think you guys were talking about this on Twitter. I think about how, okay, so Columbus is playing without half a team, which probably means we'll lose when we should probably win. Because this team literally is so up and down, you never know what to expect. So when I say I want to see growth, I do want to see that. I want to see us improving on those mistakes and not just getting lucky because other teams are doing so bad and can't capitalize on these things. Because I feel like if this was against any other good team, we would be sunk. So I don't know. I want to see more improvement tonight. They have a good opportunity to do that, and especially against Detroit too, because they're not very good. But we'll see. We need these points if they do want to make a playoff push. I think we all know realistically, but still. You just want to see good things, I think. Good things and entertaining things. Let's put it that way.
So,
all right.
I know that this obviously drops tomorrow, but we're actually recording tonight right before the game, and the lineup just came up. So just so you guys know. It is Hagel, Suter, Kane. It is DeBrincat, Doc Strom, Kubalik, Khrushchev, Hinstroza. Okay, so Connolly is filling in for Soderberg with Camp and Carpenter. Guess what, you guys? Stillman and Murphy, Keith and Boquist, DeHaan and Kalynuk. No Zadorov.
Well, they listened. Maybe calls
Oh
them.
my gosh, guys, it worked.
Called it. Woo!
Oh my gosh,
There we
it worked.
go.
I was
My theory that they were kept Zadorov in there to showcase him might have been a little true there, but or maybe he's dealing with something. Who knows? But
I didn't think about that. But that does make sense.
wow.
Good.
I can't believe it worked. And
we are so good at predicting things. We can predict them before they even happen, and then you see it after it happens and know how good we are.
Yeah.
You guys are a lot better than me at predictions. Stuck at those, obviously, because I said I don't see him getting scratched, and then he gets scratched. Oh boy, I got to improve on that front. But all right, so that will wrap up this episode of Blackhawks Banter. Again, be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube and Facebook so you never miss an episode. Make sure to follow us on Twitter. Our usernames are right here on the screens next to our names. And enjoy the game tonight. They're coming on in less than 20 minutes, I think. So, oh, well, since everyone's going to see this tomorrow, but still, same thing. Go Hawks. And thanks again to Shaun, Greg, and Gail for joining me tonight. My name is Brooke LoFurno, and good night, everybody. See you next week.